comments, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We are live. How's everybody doing?
Good morning, everyone. Or
Yes.
I guess maybe it's afternoon for some people.
Yeah.
Or
for
evening.
sure.
Who knows?
Everybody time to get on. Yeah, here we are. I guess we announced the live stream in the newsletter. So hopefully if you knew about it and you're on here now, we'd love to hear that. And you get the newsletter from us. We only send it out about every 2 weeks, something like that. I think we did it. It took a month this last time.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah. So any live stuff we do, we announce on there in advance. And, a lot of information in that you don't get anywhere else. And to get it, you have to be a profile on the website. So it doesn't have to be active either. As long as you have your email address on wedpianoteacher.com as a profile, then you'll get the newsletter. You might have to check, your spam if we send one out and you don't get it, or with the one we just sent out, if you didn't get it and you should have, look in your spam folder and then click not spam, and then make it a contact so you'll be sure to get it. Go in your inbox instead. So those of you who are viewing, we'd love to hear from you. Just comment in the live right there. We'll respond right back. And I'll answer anything, as the title says, Ask Shawn Anything. So any question you have about anything, I can answer, no matter what it is.
Can I ask questions?
Wait, I'll do my best, yeah. I don't know everything. Might have sounded like I know everything. I do not. I know a lot about music and piano maybe, but, besides that, I don't know.
Why are you the way that you are? No. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, here we are. So yeah, let me know where you're coming from. Just do a live comment there. And any question you might have, we can do that. I've had fun lately doing a couple of requests on the site. I've had a couple of Elton John ones. Take Me to the Pilot was really fun. That's on there.
I love that song.
Yeah. And one I didn't know, Teacher, I Need You. Yeah, so there's a lot of that aren't the big mega Elton John hits, and they're still good songs. That's one of them to me. I'm sure I've heard it in the background before at some point, but I really got to know that one. That one's fun to play. It's got a lot of neat piano parts in it.
Was it a live version or an album version? The Teacher I Need
It
You.
was it's album version.
I like that.
Yeah,
one. I like
that
it.
one's good. Elton's one of those where you usually get in the live version more than what you get in the album version. A lot of times he'll play more things and you get some cool stuff, but you'll still get what he did in the album version. So it isn't like so different that it's not the album version for him. It's usually
Okay, we have a question.
It's good. Okay, great.
Okay, Naomi is asking, can you explain the circle of fifths in a short explanation?
Yeah, the circle of fifths is kind of it's the structure of how music is made.
She said her context here is she said her son said that the circle of fifths helped him figure out where the notes are quickly.
Okay, where the notes are. I don't see it doing that too much. Yeah, I mean, there's only 12 tones on the piano if you include the black and white keys. If I go to my view here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you start over. So you have these 12. That's kind of the governing body of everything you're going to play. And so you have those 12, and you can make any one of those the center of the key you're going to play in. Like any one of those 12 can be the key I'm in, C or F sharp or G or whatever. And whatever key I'm in, the circle of fifths helps me to know where my flats and sharps are in that key. So it's like, if I take any one of those 12 and I'll just pick the key of C, for example, because everybody knows the key of C, and I do a scale. Well, a scale goes, you start on C, whole, half, whole, half. So you have 7, and then you're back to 1 again. So 7's kind of like the program of it. And that formula will work on any one of those 12, right?
I can see what she's probably asking, where the notes are. So like the circle of fifths, would that work for like the Nashville, like the You know, if you're like, okay, we're playing in the key of C, and then the band is like, we're gonna play a 1-4, 5-7. You know what I mean? Like,
right. So you have 1 C and F is 4, and then you have G is 5. Well, that system is going to work in any one of the 12 if you switch it. What the circle of fifths does is it kind of goes in a certain order. You start with C, and then you go to the fifth, which is a G. Well, the key of G is going to have 1 sharp. Go another fifth. Key of D is going to have 2 sharps. Go another fifth. Key of A on the circle of fifths is going to have 3 sharps. You can keep going all the way to 7 sharps because that's the maximum amount of sharps you can have. And so each one of those keys has a certain amount of sharps. And if you go the other way on the circle of fifths, you're going down a fifth, then you have the flat keys. And the circle of fifths just kind of makes sense of it all because there's a reason that there's 1 sharp in the key of G. There's a reason why there's 2 sharps in the key of D because that formula is just taken out and placed on this key. Now you take that formula out, put it on this key. It's the same formula of 7 for each of the 12. And the circle of fifths lets you see that. Is why that helps so much. Piano players can understand this a lot better because you can visually see all the notes up and down. Guitar players have more trouble because you can play the same note on every string, you know? So it's hard to see that visually, but on the piano you can see it really well. That's why anyone taking theory, they have you use a piano to do it. And speaking of theory, I have some excellent circle of fifth lessons on my website. That'll get in depth with that. But that's what it is. It's kind of a, you know what do they call it? The Rosetta Stone?
Yeah.
And, it's the key to understanding the hieroglyphs. Well, the circle of fifths is kind of the Rosetta Stone for understanding how music is made because there's form and structure in all of it. You can take the key of C and do everything you can possibly imagine in that key. But those formulas, those patterns, you can take and place on any one of the 12. You know, so it's very fascinating the way it works.
Should give you a thumbs up.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to work that way. But it does. It's organized. You know, it's just like there's structure in it. There's design in it that's inherent. It's not random, and that's what's fascinating. I'll throw you for another loop here. All of those forms and structures are contained in every single key. If you play a low note like this. There's something called overtones. Like on a real piano, if you hold this down and do this, you can hear those notes. It's doing it on this electric one too because the kwai is such a detailed instrument. But okay, and those aren't the only ones. But you have the formulas of scale and chords in that one key. You know, the same formula that you see in the circle of fifths. It would take hours to really get into it.
Okay, we have 2 more questions.
Explain it, but it's cool.
So Marcus is asking, would you consider releasing or selling MIDI files of you performing your lessons?
I just don't do MIDI. It's I know a lot of people use it. I just never want to get away from the personal, person showing and playing and learning. You lose something when you go to MIDI. When you go to just computer, and I know technology is great. I'm using technology right now. But one thing I always want to retain with my lessons is the personal interaction that you have. And sometimes, and I know it's across a camera, but you still have that person-to-person thing. And when you go to these MIDI files and all those videos of the synthesia, I don't know what they even call it, of it's Guitar Hero looking, but it's piano, that people learn a lot of stuff that way, but it's just a computer. And if you listen to these people play the songs that they learn from those, they sound like a computer. There's no emotion. There's no feeling. They're just robotically giving back, and you lose that human element, that expressive element that you only get from a real person. So
Marcus is saying, but then you would have both.
I would have both?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those take a lot of time to create.
I was going to say.
And look, this is what I do. I've been doing this for 15 years as far as the lessons. If I do one song like that, people are going to want it on every stinking song. And I don't have time to go back through the library and do 15 years of work to put MIDI files on all of them. So, no, I'm not going to do that. but not because
I can see how
Yeah.
people who are highly visual learners,
yeah.
that could be a real benefit to them.
Yeah,
I can
but-
understand how it works.
Right.
Okay, we have another question. You might have to follow this one
Okay.
on there. So it's PP say or sale 123.
Okay.
When modulating during a piece, does the musical genre play a part in how abrupt and or subtle the key changes? So like pop versus progressive versus classical, etc.
Nah, I don't think so. I think you can have like a modulation. Hold on.
You have your glasses on.
Nah, I mean, no, I can see it happening slowly or quickly in any genre. As far as the modulation goes, you can be in the key of C, and then now I'm in the key of C. I can do that quickly, or I could do it slowly in classical pop. I mean, you can really. I mean, pick the current song we just did, the Billy Joel song. Scenes of Italian Restaurant in our podcast, by the way, which you guys should watch because I go through the whole song, play it, and we talk about it, each part of it, because it's like, got a zillion parts in it. But there's modulations in there. He starts in the key of F, and then he ends up in the key of G. And then we're in the key of C at the end of it. And the modulations that Billy does are sometimes take a whole section. Sometimes they're just immediate. And he has fast genres in there and slow. I mean, so he mixes it all together. I don't think he's trying to do that when he wrote it, but it just came out that way. So no, I don't think the genre is going to affect how quickly or slowly you do a modulation.
Okay. Church Hymns and Psalms has a question.
Okay.
When will you do a Billy Joel Elton John YouTube concert?
You know what? What's funny is that first, I'm really excited to see all the comments on here. That's cool. Thank you guys for watching. What's kind of funny is that, to be prepared to do a concert of sorts, even though I kind of know these songs, you got to work on that. You got to work that up. You can't just, it's even for me who kind of know the songs already in my head, but I'm kind of doing that as we're going through the Stranger album, which we're up to. We did Scenes, what track is that? The fifth one? It's like the fifth one, I
can't
think.
remember, yeah.
Anyway, but I'm remembering. I almost said rememorizing.
I'm remembering.
That's what kids say. I rememorized it. Yeah, so I'm kind of could do a concert already, at least on those first songs, because I'm remembering them. And if I just kind of go up and brush up on them for a few minutes, I think by the end of this podcast series, I'll be able to do the whole Stranger album. And then I'm thinking maybe Elton John album next. Oh. But they're my two favorites to do. And yeah, I'd love to do that. Did he say a live concert?
A YouTube
deal? Yeah, man, we could look forward to that. I'd love to do that.
What?
Yeah. I mean, when I think, I got to do that, I got to learn all these songs, but I'm having to learn them anyway.
Okay.
For the podcast. So if we did an Elton John album right after this, I would have enough.
You know what I think my new strategy should be? I'm going to reach out to these people that are commenting, be like, hey, I need you to ask Shawn this question, because maybe he'll give you a different answer than he gives me.
Maybe we'll make it a fundraiser or something, and we can just have an all day, not all day, but many hours, and I just keep playing songs, and people can somehow donate.
That'd be cool.
Concert, and then we can, pay for our kids' school.
I'm like, what kind of fundraiser?
Yeah. So that's...
a fundraiser for ourselves?
Yeah. Kids are expensive. So.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Neat. Anyway, that would be fun. I would love to do that. And then it just kind of, have a little break and rest my voice, and we can talk and all that. That'd be neat. That's a great idea. And it's not overwhelming as it would seem before, because, as I said, I'm learning these songs as we do them on the podcast. So, guys, check out our podcasts, our recent ones, if you haven't. We're going through the Stranger album. Billy Joel is one of his biggest hit albums, if not the biggest. And we're just going through each song in there, and I'm performing it. And we're talking about it. And, I don't see anyone else who's ever done it this way that we've done, and really get into the nuts and bolts of
the
it.
musical elements of it, as well as the
because
background of the song, maybe.
Yeah, I'm kind of the musical part, of course, seeing how he's writing it, and I, having the experience I have, looking at it from a musical point of view, and then Shauna does all the research, reading, and stuff that I'm too lazy to do. Looking at interviews and everything, so we get that two halves of it. It's pretty cool, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Nothing.
Yeah. Any more questions or?
So in a follow-up to the key change in the musical genre type of thing.
Yeah.
He said thanks, and he said, but classical seems to be more transitory or something. Transitory.
Depends on what you're listening to. If you're listening to Mozart, there's not much transition, 1-4-5. If you're listening to Elton John or Billy Joel, they can do way more than that than Mozart would do. Beethoven really pushed the limits in the Romantic period of modulation, but they still were tied to those 1-4-5. Nobody, modulated way out, not the way these more recent songwriters do that we're covering here in the podcast and all that. So I don't think so. And every time you use a chord that's not in a key, you're not really modulating. Like if I do this, and then I go,
oh, that feels good.
Now you probably recognize that song, maybe, but okay, I'm all over the place. Or the person that wrote this, Billy Joel's all over the place. Okay, but I'm still da-da-da, and I'm back in the key of C. So I used, that's not a diatonic chord in the key of C, but he's using secondary dominants everywhere. So every time you use, a flat or a sharp, you haven't really modulated. I just wanted to, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong camera. Here we go. I guess you got to see that. But every time you, use a chord that's going out of that key, you haven't really modulated until you're going to stay in that key. All right, so there were a lot of secondary dominant chords in there that are kind of borrowing from other keys just a little bit, but not really changing keys. So all that's in the key of C. So you have to watch that too, that a true modulation, you're going to another key and you're going to stay in it for a while. It's going to be your home for a while. It's like if you go to
What's that song Elton John does? And maybe he doesn't do this in the song, but Gray Seal.
Uh-huh.
Where he just kind of goes from one and then to another. And
that's a true key change. He doesn't really modulate because he just goes boom on the chorus. And
but then the part where he goes back to the original, he does that
little classical thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of a modulation. A modulation is that part, those couple of chords where you're changing from one key to another. So let's say you live in one city and then you go to visit another city for a day. You haven't really changed cities. You're just visiting, right? And you come back. That's what these secondary dominant chords are. But if you were actually to get an apartment in another city and live there for a while, then you would have changed, a true modulation to another key. Then you come back home for home base. It's kind of like that, I would say.
Okay. So Jim says, good to see y'all.
Yeah, Jim's lately he's our most faithful
YouTube
commenter.
So I guess it's also good to see you, Jim, if we can say that.
Yes.
Somebody thinks the digital tip jar is a nice idea.
All right, great. Great. We're probably going to not do the thanks button on YouTube because a lot of that's going to go to YouTube, and we know, we don't want that and you guys don't want that. So we'll come up with a different
we don't want
thing.
The money. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about a third of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too much. Anyway.
So somebody asked, Janelle, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Okay.
Can you explain Black Hole Sun and how it's so many different chord progressions? Black Hole Sun.
Right. Great grunge 90s Chris Cornell.
Awesome.
Yeah, in fact, his Shauna and I both agree. His voice, is just. There's no one does that, has that. It's just, when he could sing so and like intimately, and lyrically, but then also have that, that grit and sing up high, but it's not falsetto. He's singing full voice, and the instrument on that guy was just incredible. But that song, what is it? Explain the chord progression of it.
How it's so many different chord progressions. That's the question.
I don't think it's so many. I just think it's a cool chord progression. It's really unique. A lot of the grunge songs, from that time would just have, again, the 1-4-5.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're just going to stay on one chord and go do, but you're on that note though for a long time, with all the stuff they do. But they'll typically have 3 chords, just like, a pop song. It's just got that style of grunge. But that song has got really neat chord progressions. It's not a lot of chord progressions. There's only there's one for the chorus and one for the verse. The one for the verse is really cool. I'm not going to play it here just because I want people to be able to do the live chat replay. And if anything is flagged as copyright, which is okay, because then they'll just share revenue on the ads, which I don't care about that. But it'll keep people from seeing the live chat for whatever reason. So, but it's a really neat chord progression. I explained it pretty well, I think, in the redone video that I did on the website. So if you're a member, you can really listen to all of that, because I did it a long time ago, like way back when the song was like not that old. And then I redid it a couple of years ago, a lot better. So it's just really cool. It's not common for that genre to have those kind of cool chord progressions. And what's that album he did that's just full of neat stuff that either people loved it and some people hated it, but I thought it was really cool.
Euphoria.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what it's called. Sweet Euphoria.
Yeah. It had a lot of, it was just him doing what he wanted to do. It seemed like, I don't know what it was, but it had stuff that was not common for that grunge
We have
genre.
had this conversation before about some of the stuff that came out of that music scene, especially like Nirvana, how they were Beatle-esque in their composition of their songs, that it was simple, but they did a lot in the melody, in the simplicity of it. Yeah. And I think, to me, that's where some of that stuff, like if you stripped away all the like the crunchy guitar, you know what I mean? Like all the effects of all the stuff. Because like when those guys then would release like the like when that was huge on MTV Unplugged, and they'd invite these like heavy bands to do their Unplugged version, and the songs are still just as interesting without all the extra sound.
Yeah.
And then, it's because it's a great, well-composed song.
What's his name? I always forget his name.
Say the band.
Nirvana.
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain. Yes. Came from punk stuff, punk rock, whatever. That first album, the Nevermind album, is not punk at all. It's hooky. It's got a lot of neat, I think that's why it worked. It's got a lot of memorable melodies.
Yeah.
And it's just neat. And like you just said, you can strip it down. I could play the melodies on the piano. They would just sound really cool.
Somebody is correcting me. I don't mean simple. Not a simple song. I mean a song where in pop music, it's not a lot of bells and whistles of like background noise, background music.
Yeah.
I feel like the grunge music was like, I don't know, each musician was incredibly talented. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm here to defend grunge music. So I feel like they got a bad rap from like people being like.
Yeah. But he was a great, and I think Kurt Cobain didn't really like this idea that he was, a good songwriter, or because he, the punk rock thing. But he was a great melody writer. He was a great riff writer. Mm-hmm. He was just really good at that. It's like people try to write stuff and they write tons and tons of stuff, and then he could just come up with a melody or a riff that's just, how did you do that? It's so simple, but it's so cool and it sounds great. And, it's just part of that musical genius that some people have.
I mean, it's like we give credit to Paul McCartney and John Lennon. Great riff, like you said, like they just get this one little piece. Or Keith Richards, like the Rolling Stones. I'm going to give the same credit to Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
For real.
He was. His little melodies just stick in your mind. So, and I liked, the 90s is when I was like going to the gym, working out, So, and whenever because I still work out now, not like I did then, but that gets me going most of all is 90s grunge rock. If I put that on, because that's what was playing in the weight room, back in the day. So it just gets me in that mood. Anyway, any other things?
I mean, I can talk about 90s.
Yeah.
Grunge rock for
sure
a while.
Yeah. Neat. Oh, look at all the people coming. That's cool. Really cool. I have up on the. Everybody always wants to know what's on the thing here. This is little.
What is that?
And then. That's the recent one I did. I kind of played it disjunct there so it wouldn't show up anywhere. Eric Clapton, Unplugged.
Ah, yes.
Something about Nobody Knows When You're Down and Out or something like that. Yeah, that's the name of it. So that's a recent one I did that was really fun. It's kind of that New Orleans Dr. John's blues, So that one's fun. If you guys are into that at all. You have blues and then you have that New Orleans twist, which is, I don't know, it's just a little more fun, I think. I think I like it the best because there's different types of blues. There's the down and out blues, and then there's the kind of fun, the kind of one that kind of blues that has the kind of, I don't know, it's almost like it's kind of ragtime a little bit. How it's mixed together, but it's just really cool. So that's one that's new on the site as well.
It was fun to watch you work on that one because you kept taking the headphones off and talking about like all the musicians that play with
with Eric
Clapton are just like top tier,
top notch. Yes, I was like everyone, all of them, and it's not just what they play; it's what they don't play. It's the spaces in between, and when they do, it's gold. You can always tell someone because they're trying too hard. I'm playing too many notes, too much. So that was really cool to have that. They were live, the way music.
Speaking of MTV Unplugged,
was meant to do, yeah, and that was just so cool to do that. And then I had another one where I got frustrated with someone.
That was also funny for me to watch.
Yeah, I was doing a hard request. It was a cover, and it was a good cover, but there's a blues part in the middle, and the guy was just butchering, and there were some blues licks I could tell he was trying to do, and he could have done them if he just had practiced, and he was just kind of slapping the keys. So I was like, man, gotta come up. Anyway.
So Janelle complimented that they have found you again from they followed way back, and now they've kind of found you again, and the new set presentation and all that stuff.
Well, thank you so much.
We have come a long way.
Yes, it's a great.
Well, technology has come a long way.
It has, but it's a great story too. How we ended up here. We had, the cameras we have, the sound, the neat, even the story of getting the piano here is pretty cool. But all the elements of our studio, all that costs money. It's very expensive, and we were trying to sell our camper and couldn't sell it for years.
But even from the beginning, too, it was like writing on an actual physical whiteboard with expo markers.
I know.
To using those. We thought it was amazing when those flip video cameras came out.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? And then just over time being able to upgrade.
Mm-hmm. But even this last time, we got just enough money from selling the camper to be able to afford to pay for what we have here. It was just exactly the amount. So we have all the cameras we want, and we have the monitors, and everything is just set up. For now, it's wherever you're at, you think that's the top, and it never is.
That's going to change in 3 years,
or even quicker. But for now, it's so cool to be able to do a live video and have all this. And I didn't set it up. Someone, the guy who set it up for us helped us, and it's just been great. Love it.
All right. Any other questions out there?
Yeah.
Ask Shawn anything.
Anything. Yeah.
Whoa. Scary.
Yeah. Well, people are always pretty good.
I know they've been all pretty musical questions this time.
That's good. It's neat. Yeah.
And
all right.
Don't ask me anything. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. And we'll do this again. We're trying to do it, every Friday. So
we try to be consistent.
Basically consistent. We got kids in school. Our oldest is in college, the youngest is still in elementary school, so it's a lot going on. You can't always stick to the schedule, but guys, it's been great. And look for some more lessons and some more stuff on YouTube. Nice talking to you. Talk to you later.
Bye, guys.